It's not just sport bike riders, but it's cruiser riders that can really benefit from proper body positioning and slowing down before the turn. If you would like to know what to do after a motorcycle crash and possibly save somebody's life, make sure you go to accidentscene.org and sign up for their online class. This is a great opportunity and a great way for you to learn what to do, how to do it, and then possibly save somebody's life. All right, so what can we learn from this accident? This is a very common type accident, and really all this is going super wide in a turn because you're going a little too fast. And there just so happens to be a guardrail that we crash into. So let's go over this. We got the person in front that's going to crash. It looks like it's a modulating brake light, so that's not going to be an indication of brakes. That's an indication of brakes. So he broke before the turn, and he's going to be riding. Trying to keep up with the person in front. The person behind him is just kind of watching, it's the GoPro and everything. This says too much speed, so this guy's going a little bit too fast to a blind turn, goes a little bit wide, starts dragging foot, and then catches that front tire on that piece of wood. So that's going to be the crash, and there we go. So let's go back. So right off the bat, I want you guys to understand, hey, this is a group ride. Maybe ego could play a role in this. Who knows? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but think of that for yourself. Do you feel like you're speeding up too much to keep up to somebody in front of you? Okay, so let's take away from that. But also let's take away from that there's a lot of blind corners. So there's 3 people in front of this rider that's going to crash. We have the brake lights happening. So he did his slow look, press, and roll. There are advanced techniques. I'm hearing it all the time from other people. I'm hearing it. That's perfectly fine. But remember, guys, we need to walk before we can run. Trail braking and all these advanced techniques where you're using throttle and the front brake at the same time, that is an advanced technique. Advanced MSF course, or you take it into a higher level total control. Okay, so for beginners, if you're a beginner, let's do slow look, press, and roll. If you've already mastered slow look, press, and roll, I highly recommend you taking a class and learning how to trail brake. 2 great tools for the toolbox. One is not better than the other. You actually use slow look, press, and roll for most of your turns, and you can use trail braking if you really want to take some fast turns, or you come up to a situation where you need to slow down in the middle of a turn, boom, you know how to trail brake. So right here, you don't need to do it. These types of roads, you don't need to do it. Just need to slow down, enjoy the ride, look at the beautiful views, the trees and everything. That's great. So we got that modulating brake light. That's kind of distracting. But he's saying it's too much speed right here. So this is a blind turn. Take a look at this blind turn. Okay, we can't see what's going around it. Do we know it's a delayed apex? Do we know it's a hairpin turn? Do we know that it's going to be something crazy that we have no clue and we're riding outside our limits? Remember, guys, do not ride outside your limits here. Okay, if you're riding up in the mountains, slow down. Who cares if they go ahead of you? Ride within your limits. If you start to panic, you start to feel like, ooh, this is almost too much, it's not enjoyable, or you start feeling that cringe factor. I call it the cringe factor. My wife actually calls it that. But the cringe factor, that means that you're going outside your limits. You're starting to approach that. If you're calm, collected, and everything, that means you are doing what your training has taught you to do. If you start going outside of that, like I said, you're going to get that, that cringe factor. That right there, you're going outside your training. So maybe we should rebrand it, not riding within your limits. Maybe we should be rebranding it, riding within your training. Okay, so if you don't have the training, you can't be doing trail braking. So we're going to move here. He says too much speed. So right here we got our foot starting to drag across the ground. That means our bike is extremely pushed over. This isn't a trail braking issue. This isn't a massive slow look, press, and roll issue. Look at this. This is a body positioning issue, and this is something that you learned in the basic class. Okay, when you do slow speed maneuvers, you're doing counter weighting. When you're doing a little bit higher speed, especially 15 plus, you're doing counter steering. And then on top of the counter steering, you need to start applying your body position, your upper body. I'm going to show it right here. Start putting your upper body towards the turn, okay? So put your head and your chin towards your right hand or left hand. So this situation is going to be the right hand. So do that. That way your bike is more upright. You're not dragging feet or hard parts. And since your bike is upright, the suspension is working like it's supposed to, and you have a great contact patch. Trail braking, slow look, press, and roll could have helped in this situation, but we need to start diagnosing some of the issues that we're having, and trail braking and slow look, press, and roll is not going to solve all of it, okay? So there's a bunch of stuff that you need to add to your foundation. Body positioning, slow look, press, and roll, trail braking, all great tools. They must be used. when they are needed. And right here, this is needed. Better body positioning, and you need to slow down before the turn. As you can tell, we see the rider right here up in front of him. Maybe he was going too fast and had to go wide. See, here's the thing, we don't know. So it could have definitely been ego, could have been improper speed entering the turn, could have been used trail braking, could have used trail braking to slow himself down if he was taught that. So he's already riding outside of his training on this one. So when we ride outside our training, this is what happens. You start to go super wide, especially on these turns. Remember, curves and intersections are the most dangerous places for motorcyclists. And right here, this is a single vehicle accident with this motorcyclist. So when we crash into that, we're going to see some pictures towards the end. I'll actually pop them up right now. And while I'm talking, it completely demolished his BMW. And BMWs are extremely expensive. Motorcycles are extremely expensive, especially if this is something that you are doing for fun and you might not have the best insurance. Remember, guys, comprehensive, collision, all that stuff. Check your insurance. Make sure you can cover yourself. We have gear for ourselves, ATGAT, great thing. Let's make sure we have gear and we have protection for our motorcycle too, just in case something like this happens. Who knows? It could happen to you. But when we see this right here, okay, so he hit that piece of wood. Okay, those pieces of wood are strong, very strong, insanely strong. I know there's a bunch of people here in the comments that work for streets and everything, and they install these things. They have told me, and I've witnessed one of these falling on one of them when I was a firefighter, but they've told me those things are heavy. They're extremely strong. So if a bike with that much potential energy can cause that is insane. Imagine your body. So this is a high mechanism of injury type accident until we can actually do any type of rapid trauma assessment or anything like that. So that right there, we need to really focus on the rider. I don't care about the bike anymore if this is my buddy, and I want to make sure he is safe. And if you want to learn more about how to keep somebody alive if they are injured in this accident, make sure you check out accidentscene.org. Roadguardians.org is a great charity that holds classes. There's an online class, and I believe it's only $30. I'm an accident scene management instructor, and this is something that this is why I do this, guys. This is why I do this. Seeing people hurt, it's not what I want to do, but I want to make sure that they can walk away from this. Hopefully, you can't prevent everything, but we're going to move into this and we're going to take a quick look. See the damage. The biker fell down. He has, his helmet. He has full gear. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So let's go back to the very beginning of this and let's talk about some of the stuff that you can train with, especially this weekend. Let's talk about what we're going to do this weekend, guys. So for this instance with this rider, if we're going to be riding out in the mountains like this on the weekend, let's go ahead and practice our slow look, press, and roll. Remember, before the turn, especially these blind turns like this, let's slow it down before we get to the turn. Just not like slow. We're not talking going from 50 to 10 miles an hour. We're talking maybe 50 to 45, maybe 50 to 40. Maybe like a 10% jump down. Let's roll off the throttle until we can figure out what we're getting into. And then we're going to look where we want to go. Since we're looking where we want to go, that is going to give us an idea of how much speed, how much braking, when can we accelerate, how much do we have to turn, all these different things. That's why you need to use your search, evaluate, execute, even during this. This is why it's a foundation of skills that you're going to learn at the MSF. This is a blind turn, so since we can't see around this turn, we need to slow down even more or go wider. This looks like a single lane road. I'm unsure exactly how this works. This might be outside the country, but it could be a single lane road. If it is a single lane road, especially on this turn, go a little bit wider and then go in. So this is the one situation where I talk about going outside, inside, outside. I usually talk about middle. But this right here, going outside, is going to give you the best view, and maybe go outside, outside, or outside, middle. But at least start your turns on the outside on this one so you have the best line of sight, okay? So now we're going to press into the turn, okay? So we're going to press into the turn, so we're going to counter steer. So a lot of people are saying, well, you got to press down on the handlebars. Well, that's not always the case. Depending on the type of handlebars you have, you're going to have to initiate counter steering. This is something you can practice in a parking lot or practice on your roads. You're probably doing it already, and you don't know what the word means. You are probably doing it already, guys. So now we have the slow look press. Now we're going to go ahead and roll on the throttle. We're exiting the turn. Our nose is pointed on the outside. It's pointing where we want to go. See where the other rider is right here? Well, with the guy with the GoPro on the bike, his tires are starting to get towards where it needs to go. So we're not rolling on the throttle yet. We're just maintaining pressure and speed, so we don't slow down too much during the turn. But about right here, right there, perfect. Now we can roll on the throttle, okay? Roll on the throttle. Now that we have a straight line, we know exactly where we're going. But just like in the curves, this is why it's more of an advanced thing in the mountains and the curves and everything. This is where it gets a lot of people, to crash, is that, now we have another turn coming up. So now we have to initiate slow look, press, and roll again. So we're going to slow down before this turn, and now we're initiating the press and looking, and now we're going to go ahead and roll on the throttle. And now we have to do it again. Slow, look, press, And oh man, it's a hairpin turn. It kept going. So this is where going on the outside was really going to help you, so you have better line of sight. So outside, middle is probably a good one for this situation. So guys, let's practice that. Let's make sure that we are doing something safe this weekend. Please let me know how your weekend went on the next video. If you want to check out the video prior to this, please do so. It really helps out the channel. But with that said, I hope you ride safe, be safe, and I'll be seeing you around. And then we're going to dump the bike. Tire's still moving, not good. Hot parts, and the person says they're yelling for the other rider knowing he can't.